My name is Alicia Lachiondo. I am a pediatrician. I'm a general outpatient pediatrician at St. Luke's downtown. So I did my 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, and then 3 years of residency training, which technically is a paid job, but still extra training afterwards, specifically in pediatrics. It's a great question, and they've changed quite a bit. Well, they've changed a little bit in the past year. And I guess I should also mention, in addition to being a general pediatrician, I'm also have an admin role. So I'm the Associate Medical Director for General Pediatrics. So right now I have 3 days in clinic, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I see patients from about 9 until 5. Time before then at lunch and in the evening spent charting, going through my chart. On Thursdays, it's my quote-unquote admin day. So I have a lot of meetings scheduled during that time to do a lot of general planning for general pediatrics, strategizing, troubleshooting different problems. And then Fridays are my overall admin day, meaning to clean up all the other work that I didn't get done. So those first 3 days are seeing patients. 1 out of every, right now, 8 weekends or so, I also work a weekend clinic, so Saturday and Sunday mornings, seeing patients who can't wait until Monday to be seen, but don't necessarily need to go to the ER. And I check the inbox for my partners and cover them during that time. It's a great question. So before I went into medical school, I did a volunteer year in Yakima, Washington through a program called Jesuit Volunteer Corps, and I was a medical assistant in a nonprofit clinic, a farm worker clinic. And when I went into that experience and prepping for medical school, I thought I wanted to do family practice. I wanted to do full scope medicine. I liked the model. I got paired with a pediatrician, and I thought I was going to hate it because it would just be crying babies, and I was taking their vitals, and it turns out I loved it. I love making silly faces at kids. Even when they're crying, you can kind of get fun reactions out of them. I love that I get to do a huge part of my job is teaching because kids in general are pretty healthy compared to their end-of-life counterparts. And they get healthier as they get older. I get to do a lot of teaching for parents, so I still get some of that full scope family care, but I get to see kids grow up and do a lot of education. It's a lot of fun. So biggest perks. So I'm the first in my biologic family to be a physician, so didn't really know and actually be in the medical field. I knew that I wanted to do something, because I'm from here, to come back and kind of serve my community and be involved, but that also used my interests and skills. I like science, so I was good at math. That gave me the opportunity to do that. That was a big part of why I wanted to do primary care. I get to see, again, people through the span of their childhood. It's not just a one-off, one instance, and they go. I get to catch up and say, oh, how did this thing turn out? Or are you still playing this sport? So you really feel like you are part of people's lives and not just in a short experience. Frankly, I make more money than anyone in my family had prior. My father and mother were both in education, so I still get a lot of what I saw and what they liked from their careers in terms of being part of the community, but with better compensation. The primary care side of things, I think the lifestyle is a little more mellow than my surgical colleagues or say my ER ICU colleagues. Their work is more intermittent, but it's very, very intense for what they do. And that also goes for the hospital side of things, where my schedule is pretty regular. so I can plan around that and know what to expect. So outpatient pediatricians working full-time, so 40 plus hours a week. Probably I'd have to look at nation averages. I think it can vary widely, and it really depends on your pay model. We are right now currently RVU based, meaning the more patients I see throughout the year, the more money I make, versus having a salary. But probably somewhere between, it's a wide range, $225,000 to probably $325,000, $350,000, depending on, that'll go up and down. Also, like, we now only do, for the most part, outpatient pediatrics. Before that, we were attending in the nursery, and when I first started, we actually saw our own patients when they were admitted to the hospital, so that can vary some of those numbers a little bit, but I think that would probably be pretty accurate. It's a great question, and it's something that I've really had to work on in the past year, especially taking on my admin role. So I don't have any kids of my own. I joke that I have 1,500 kids, but no kids of my own other than my dog. And I'm lucky that all my family's here, so I don't have to worry about traveling to visit family. That's made things simpler and allow me to devote more time to my work. But it's very easy to get sucked in to thinking only about work and making that the priority all the time, especially being in administration through COVID and navigating a lot of changes in the healthcare system. I let that overtake. So this next year has actually been a lot of learning how to say no, or questioning, yes, I could make more money, but is it worth it? Do I want to maybe take some hours off and not work a full FTE? Making sure that I schedule breaks and vacations, because travel is my favorite thing to do. So making sure I have those at regular intervals to reset, recharge. And then you have to be really good at figuring out what are the things that you need and putting them on a calendar. So whether it's time with friends, it's exercise, they've got to be on a calendar and make you do it. I would. I think it's so hard to predict healthcare. So I've got to admit, again, no one in my family was in medicine. So when I was sitting in your shoes, I would go shadow my friends' parents who were physicians. And a lot of times they would say, oh, don't go into medicine, but if you do go into medicine, don't go into primary care, it's different. And if you're in primary, if you're gonna go into primary care, don't go into pediatrics because it's the least compensated or whatever. But you can still have a very, like, my job security is excellent compared to my friends who work in other fields. As long as I want to work in pretty much wherever I want to work, I can find a job. People are always going to need pediatricians. I love the fact that I get to continue learning and learn science and learn new things from my patients and interact with people all day, every day. I'm very much a people person. So I think it's a very rewarding profession. I think it is, could I make more money doing other things? Sure, but could also make a lot less money and still have a rewarding career. So if you kind of take that off the equation, I do think some of it is being very intentional if you're going into this career, and knowing what the debt is up front from undergrad and medical school and how much of that you actually want to take on, because it takes a while to pay it off. And so having that balance is important. But I would absolutely encourage people who like kids, like science, like learning to be in this line of work. So I've talked to a lot of different people about this, and the first thing I recommend is, from now, when you're in high school, all the way until you're into your residency, do things you enjoy. Don't just do things for a resume, for two reasons. One, when you're on the other side, and I've been on the other side interviewing prospective students or interviewing prospective residents, it's very quick. You can very quickly tell when people have done something to check a box to put on their resume that they aren't interested in or can't talk deeply about. I'd much rather have someone who taught swimming lessons to all different kids and be able to talk about that for an hour than someone who worked in a lab doing something that they didn't care about and don't have any passion about or interest in doing. Does that make sense? The other part of it is, once you're on my end of things, getting to take breaks and getting to explore different things and learn about different things, that window narrows. So taking the opportunity, be an English major and take the science classes that you want. Be an art history major. I was an anthropology major. You don't have to be a biology major. You don't have to be a biochemistry major to get into medical school. And same thing with where you choose for undergrad. I have classmates in residency who, I joke about this all the time, I have one classmate who went to Harvard and one classmate who went to Boise State, and both of them are radiologists doing the exact same thing. And they're both great people and they're both very happy with the paths they chose, but there's not just one way to get into medical school. So taking that time is really important. Oh, my go-to doctor joke. Well, it's not really a doctor joke, it's a dad joke. And it's usually make the parents laugh. So my last name is a little bit hard to pronounce. It's Lachiondo, and people always ask me, how do you pronounce your last name? And Alicia has a few different pronunciations. And so they say, oh, I'm sorry, I've been calling you the wrong name. And I was like, I honestly don't care what you call me as long as you don't call me late for dinner. Stole that one from my father. I'm trying to think if I have any other good. No, the only other thing is I do joke, and don't tell your intern parents I said this, but the reason I chose kids is old people's feet smell. And if you've ever smelled old people's feet, it's just not something I wanted to do long term.
Keep that one in mind.
Yeah, keep that one in mind.